All right, let's talk about something that I guarantee has happened to every single one of us. That bizarre moment of total forgetfulness the second you step into a new room. It's a weirdly universal feeling, and today, we're going to figure out exactly what's going on.
I mean, seriously, think about it. You're on a mission. You have a purpose. You stride confidently through a doorway and poof, the thought just vanishes into thin air. It's frustrating, it's a little confusing, and it happens all the time.
Yep, you heard that right. The problem isn't necessarily your memory or that you weren't paying attention. The latest science is pointing its finger at the simple act of walking through a threshold. That doorway is literally wiping your mental slate clean. Okay, let's get into this.
First up, let's really unpack that classic "why am I here" moment. We've all been there, and just knowing we're not alone in this is the first step to understanding the pretty cool science behind it.
The intention is crystal clear in one room. I need my keys. I'm just gonna grab a glass of water. But by the time you've crossed from the living room to the kitchen, the mission is completely gone, and you're just standing there, looking around. So, let's put a real name to this thing, because it's not just some random brain glitch. It's a very real phenomenon that scientists have actually studied. And what they discovered is kind of mind-blowing. And to figure this all out, researchers didn't just sit around and guess. Oh no. They set up this really clever experiment to see if doorways were, in fact, the culprits behind these little memory blackouts. The setup was so simple, it's brilliant. Participants had one job, a super easy one. Just remember what's in a box they're carrying. Now, here's the twist. Some people just walked across a big room, while others walked the exact same distance but had to pass through a doorway. The big question was, would that doorway, and only the doorway, change anything? And wow, did it ever. The results were just crystal clear. People who stayed in the same room, they could remember the objects pretty well, but the group that walked through a doorway consistently did worse. It's like the doorway was a memory thief. And just like that, this phenomenon got its official name, the doorway effect. It's a real, recognized psychological quirk where just crossing a boundary can make your brain drop whatever it was thinking about. Okay, so we know what's happening, but the million-dollar question is why, right? Well, the answer is all about your brain's incredible and kind of strange internal filing system that it uses to manage the flood of information we deal with every single second. Think about it like a computer's RAM. Your brain just doesn't have the processing power to pay attention to everything all the time. Your working memory, that's the part of your mind dealing with the here and now, is powerful, but it's got its limits, so it has to be crazy efficient. The way it stays so efficient is explained by something with a fancy name, event segmentation theory. But all it really means is that your brain doesn't see your life as one long, continuous movie. Nope, it chops it up into distinct scenes or events. For every single one of those little scenes, your brain builds what's called an event model. Just think of it like a temporary folder for what's going on. This example here nails it. You see someone tying their left shoe, and your brain instantly opens the shoe tying event file and predicts, okay, the right shoe is next. It keeps your mind focused and uncluttered. And this is where the doorway comes back into play. To your brain, a doorway is a giant, flashing sign that basically screams, "End scene." It's a clear signal that the living room event is over, and it's time to start the kitchen event. So as you walk through that doorway, your brain acts like a super efficient office assistant. It says, okay, the living room file is no longer relevant. Let's close it to save some mental energy. The only problem? That little thought, get my phone, was part of that file. It gets archived right along with everything else. But hold on, because here's the plot twist. This exact same mental process, the one that makes you so forgetful, can sometimes, believe it or not, actually improve your memory. So get this, the same researchers ran another test. This time, instead of remembering objects, people had to remember a list of words. And when they walked through a doorway halfway through the list, the very same thing that made them forget the objects actually helped them remember more words. How on earth is that possible? Well, it's because the doorway acted like a mental chapter break in a book. By creating two distinct events, one for the first half of the list and one for the second, it actually helped the brain organize the information into separate, cleaner files, making it much easier to retrieve later. So, what's the big takeaway from all this? The next time you find yourself standing baffled in your kitchen, you really don't need to worry. You know, it's so easy for our minds to immediately think, oh no, my memory is going. But the researchers checked for that. They found the doorway effect was just as powerful in college students as it was in older adults. It is absolutely not a sign of aging. You gotta start thinking of this as a feature, not a bug. Your brain is just being incredibly efficient. Most of the time, when you enter a new space, you do need to focus on a new set of things. And clearing out the old information is actually a huge help. So let's ask that question one last time. When your brain dumps that thought as you walk into the kitchen, is it messing up? Is it failing you in that moment? Not at all. It might have made one tiny miscalculation about how important that specific thought was. But overall, it's operating exactly as it should, constantly updating, sorting, and filing away reality to keep you focused on the here and now. Your brain is just doing its job.